Okay, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 4th of October 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. I do apologize for being a little bit late, guys, so hopefully that didn't cause you a lot of too much inconvenience. But as always, before we jump into the charts, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So the the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, guys, so actually, not going to mention any of our websites, straight jumping into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on, and if my computer doesn't freeze anymore, that would be fantastic. So the first one I want to touch on here, guys, is the FTSE 100. Now, I kept looking at this one for the whole week, and okay, I do apologize for some technical issues, guys. My computer seems to have a mind of its own today. Basically, the whole week I was looking at this FTSE 100 index, and what I was talking about, it was this nice territory, this potential area of support near the, or should I say, in between, roughly between the 7,020 and 7,044. But yesterday, of course, we did have an overshoot, and the index managed to reach the low around the 7,004 zone. So it didn't even reach the psychological 7,000 level, from which it reversed back to the upside and traveled higher. So looking at the cash index right now, we are well above the this yesterday's close, and we are closer to this key area, this key level of resistance near the 7,131 zone. I talked about this one previously, and that's basically the high of the 28th of August. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. If we get a push further north here above the 7,131, then there's a good possibility we could maybe even test. We could see a correction towards this level right here. And let me just quickly adjust that. Near these 7,200 zone. Now, I talked about this level as well in my previous videos, and basically this is the barrier, a break of which we need in order to get comfortable, let's say, with slightly higher levels. At least we could then aim for areas like the 7,280, 82, or even going further up. But again, for now, guys, all eyes are on this 7,131 area. We'll see how it's going to play out around there, because it might have a nice hold up as it did here back on the 28th of August. So that's why, guys, we're not gonna drag this one higher. And by the way, slightly above it, we do have the 21 EMA here approaching this level on the 4-hour chart, and this could also provide additional resistance. So keep your eyes on this one for now. Yesterday, of course, this reversal came after the disappointing ISM non-manufacturing figures from the US. So initially we did have a slide, and this is the sharp slide that we had, but then quickly the equity markets changed their sentiment due to the rising the rising probability of the Fed raising its rates due to all this negative data that's coming out from the US. So, of course, the big question here is how the NFPs are going to play out today. So that's something in focus today as well, guys. So don't forget about that. But for now, looking at this FTSE 100, yes, we are. The cash index is currently around the 7,131, maybe just slightly below that. But we're going to keep an eye on it. If we get a further push north, then we'll be very careful near the 21 EMA on the 4-hour chart. But if that fails, then yep, it could in a way test the psychological, or I wouldn't actually say a psychological, but a nice, strong area of resistance, which previously acted as support, the 7,200 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. If we get a nice pop above this, then yep, we will aim for higher levels. Gold. I talked about this one yesterday as well. So basically, I was talking about this level right here, the 1505, and in my traders tea time I've mentioned that area, guys, and basically what I was saying, that in order for us to aim for higher levels, we need to see that nice good push above the 1505 zone before we could examine higher levels. Of course, we fantastically got that break, and it traveled above not only above this 1505, but also above the 1512, our other target. But it failed to kind of travel all the way here towards this tentative downside resistance line, the short-term tentative downside resistance line. It failed to kind of reach that, and it managed to hit a level. And let me just quickly put this one on the chart. It managed to reach this little territory right here near the 1519 zone, or in a way you could round it up towards the 1520. So near that level, it kind of almost hit the 1520, but reversed quickly back to the downside and drifted back down. So it again, but it found good support near this 1505. It previously, of course, you can see it acted as a resistance. Now it's taking the role of support. Again, if it continues to hold, and if the today's pivot, which is around the 1507 zone, continues to hold as well, then we could see maybe another round of buying. Of course, the interesting thing here will be probably the fact that it may hang around here. It may move sideways for now until the NFPs come out, and then make a better move. So that's why we're going to be very careful here, guys, today. We're not going to try to over speculate on this. We'll probably take a more of a reactive mode after. So if we see the move, then we'll see what it wants to do after, because again, it would be a little bit difficult to predict. And at normal conditions, normal technical analysis, yes, we could say that we could continue pushing further north, especially if we make a move above the 1512 zone, and then we could test this downside resistance line. But again, today's the US job numbers, so we could see a bit of a hit here if, let's say, the dollar suddenly strengthens. So that's why, guys, for now, be very careful. In terms of the downside, of course, you could keep an eye on this 1505, and please do, because a drop below this could in a way open the path back down here towards this little territory. And let me just put this one on the chart. This little, not this one, but this one right here. So that's the 1495 zone, so roughly around there. Of course, don't get me wrong, the psychological 1500 level is going to play out here as well, but if it drops below this, then this is what to keep an eye on. The 1495 or 96, in a way, approximately around there. Keep an eye on that one, but if that fails to withhold, now this could slide further down towards this area that I kept talking about, the 1484 zone, and in a way, initially it could provide some good support, but if it fails to do so, now this is where it could turn out to be ugly for gold, and we could see further declines if we see a drop below the 1484 zone. So keep your eyes on that one, guys. AUDUSD, jumping into a few pairs very quickly. So I kept looking at this one, and I've touched on this one once, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this week. And basically, what I was saying, that we needed to see a nice good push above this downside line before we could start looking at some higher levels. So, of course, this downside line is running here from the high of the 13th of September, and this short-term kind of tentative line. So we managed to get the break. That's good news for the buyers. Of course, this could in a way continue drifting higher still, especially if, let's say, the dollar weakens on, let's say, if the data comes out not very good, then yep, we could see a nice blow up here to the upside, maybe initially leading towards the 0.6780 81 zone, approximately around there. That's what we're going to be targeting initially, but if that fails to withhold, then yep, the next better area of resistance could be around the 0.6808 zone. So for now, of course, we are more bullish than bearish, but we'll probably be a little bit more cautiously bullish, I would say, because again, it's not very far from this downside line, and again, ideally we would like to see a nice push above the 0.6781 first before examining higher levels. But for now, how we could do here is, let's say, if for example, for now we are going to remain somewhat bullish, but we would have our stop loss somewhere around here. There's near the 0.6735, roughly around here, because if this suddenly reverses back down, drops below this downside line, and breaks this the yesterday's low near the sorry, not, it wasn't the yesterday's low. It was and this is a 1 hour chart, by the way. Let me just jump into a 4 hour chart. So this is the level. This is basically the intraday swing low of the of yesterday. So if we see a drop below this one right here around the 0.6735 zone, and this is where it could change the game, and we could see the pair drifting back down again, potentially aiming for the 0.6718 20 territory. But if that fails, then yep, further declines could be possible again. So basically, this is the scenario that we would be keeping an eye on. This is the downside scenario, and we will only consider that if we see a drop back below the downside line and below the 0.6735 territory. So keep your eyes on that one. Jumping into another interesting pair, and then that's NZDCHF. Now, haven't looked at this one for quite a while, but as you can see, it's quite interesting because the Swiss franc continues to weaken, and the New Zealand dollar seems to be on the stronger side this week. And yep, we are having this nice steep, very steep upside support line here, running from the low of the 1st of October. Again, don't get me wrong, at some point this steep upside line could get broken, but it's right now we're seeing a bit of a correction here to the downside after the pair managed to reach an area near the 0.6328. So this is the resistance level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, because given the fact that the pair is on such a steep upside line, we will only consider the upside on a break here above the 0.6328, because only then the pair would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could target slightly higher levels here, like the 0.6360 zone. This could be a nice potential target, but the reason why we're not going to do anything from, let's say, if we see maybe a small rebound here, initial rebound from this upside line, because the line is so steep. I mean, in a way, it could break eventually, and we could see maybe a slide lower, maybe a test of this 200 EMA, and then a reversal back to the upside. So basically, a lot of buyers could be stopped out around here, and that's why in such a scenario, it's better to be safe than sorry. That's why we're gonna wait for a push above the 0.6328 zone. So, and only then we will target further upside. In terms of the downside, for us to get comfortable with lower levels, ideally we would like to see a drop below this level right here near the 0.6277 zone. Of course, automatically the rate would be placed below its 200 EMA, and of course below today's pivot. So that's why, guys, for now, in terms of the downside, this is our little conservative approach here in order to consider, let's say, lower levels. That's what we're going to be targeting. We need to see a drop below the 0.6277 zone before aiming lower. So, very interesting pair, very interesting developments here. Let's see how this is going to play out. But again, for now, that's the picture. That's the technical picture. USD CAD. Now, USD CAD. This one is a very tricky one, and don't get me wrong. Today, apart from the NFPs, we do have the Canadian data as well coming out. So keep your eyes on this one. So in a way, something like this could be playing out. Basically, if this decides to slide a little bit lower, and but this 1.3310 zone is going to hold it nicely, then we could see this one rebounding like this and pushing back to the upside. For us, let's say, to consider lower areas, ideally we would like to see a drop below the 1.3278 zone here, approximately around there, and then we will aim for the 1.322930 zone initially, but then of course the better potential area of support could be the low, or should I say near the lows of this week at around the 1.3208 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. This is the potential target for us for the downside. So that's why, guys, it's a very tricky one. In case, let's say, this decides not to travel lower, still keep your eyes on the recent highs, and those were let me just put this one on the chart. Those were around the 1.3348 zone. So in a way, these two levels, keep your eyes today on those, the 1.3310 on the downside and the 1.3348 on the upside here. So basically, if this area here acts as a fantastic area of support, then wonderful, we could see another rise here. But for those who are more on the cautious side, you can just wait basically for a push above this 1.3348. This way the pair would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could target, we're not going to target too much to the upside here. We're just going to aim for the 1.3382 zone, because that's the highest point of September. So keep your eyes on that one. And euro dollar. Euro dollar, that's also one of my favorites this week. So this is what I talked about yesterday. In order for us to examine further higher levels, and I kept talking about this for the whole week, in order for us to examine higher levels, we need to see a push above the 1.0964. And by the way, the higher levels, I mean up until this downside resistance line taken from the high of June. Now, yesterday we had our blow up here. It pushed higher. It pushed above the 1.0964. You can see that the pair retraced after, but is failing to still to move below the 1.0964 zone. So now it's acting as a fantastic area of support. If this remains the same, then yep, we will aim for the upside again here. We will aim for higher levels, like maybe the 1.1024 zone. And around there, of course, the pair could also meet the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart and this downside resistance line. So for now, like I said, that could be the game plan. What you could do here is also what I've mentioned in the yesterday's video, that the 1.0983 level. Keep an eye on this one, because as you can see, all the 4-hour candles right now are failing to kind of close even above it. So, and that's where the 100 EMA also runs here on the 4-hour chart. So in a way, this could be your good barrier just for that extra kind of confirmation. If we get a push above the 1.0983, then yep, we will aim for this higher level here. But if this pair suddenly starts dropping below the 1.0964, we'll be very careful here. This could be our little neutral territory, but if it starts, and this is where I'll probably adjust my level for the downside here. And then this is when I'm going to raise it a little bit right here. So this basically the 1.0943 territory. And let me just quickly highlight this one. Okay. The 1.0943 territory, this is when you can start potentially looking at some lower levels. And initially we will target only the 1.0924 or the 1.0904 zone, so which acted as a fantastic area of support here back on the 2nd of October. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. It could be quite an interesting day today. Also, don't forget that this might continue hanging around here up until the NFPs, and only can maybe blow up after. So that's why don't try to probably predict the move. Try to act after. So or have a very, very tight stop loss, but then again you'll get quickly stopped out due to probably increased spreads. But again, keep your eyes on those. Let's see how this is gonna play out. And yep, guys, stay safe. I hope you had I hope you have a fantastic trading day today. And once again, do apologize for starting this one a little bit late. I'll try to keep to my time for my traders tea time, so please join me at 13:15 and we'll have a look how the market has reacted, because the data will be out already. So yep, guys, like I said, 13:15 GMT. Please join me at my traders tea time and we'll see how some of these instruments have reacted. So yep, but for now, have a wonderful trading day. Thank you very much and bye bye.